Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very first event of the season. We are so excited to have you here. We've been looking forward to this, and I hope that you get a lot out of our presentation and conversation today. During our time together, we're going to be sharing more about the mission of the consortium, our network of incredible member schools, corporate partners, and alums and current students. If you have questions throughout the presentation, I do ask that you use the Q&A function to drop it in. We will try to answer throughout the presentation, but we'll definitely leave time at the end. And then you also have the upvote feature on there. So if there's a question you like, you want to see answered first, make sure you're using that to get those questions answered. Before we dive in, of course, have to introduce the MCs, your point of contact, and who your cheerleaders are here on the recruitment side of the consortium. So starting with myself, my name is Michelle Pava. I serve as the Vice President of Admissions and Recruitment here at the consortium. Today is my 4-month anniversary, so I'm very new to the organization, but I'm not new to the MBA space. So before taking on this position, I served as the Senior Associate Director of Diversity Recruitment and Admissions for the Michigan Ross full-time MBA team for about 4.5 years. And before that, I spent about 6 years in corporate America. So started my career off at PwC and then spent about 3 years in the cruise line industry before aligning into this industry. It was during COVID, so 2020, that I knew I wanted to be in a space where I could make more of an impact for people of all backgrounds, including ones like myself who are first generation and come from, moderate upbringing, to make sure that we're creating accessibility and demystifying higher education for all. So I haven't looked back since. Extremely happy to be here and hope I get to meet a lot of you throughout the rest of the year. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tracy.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Ginyard. I'm the manager on the admissions and recruiting team, and I am about 3 weeks in, so fairly new. Similar to Michelle, though, I'm not new to this space. I spent some time at Bain and Company, leading diversity recruiting programs and partnerships for a number of years. And then most recently, I was at Schwartzman Scholars, if any of you are familiar with that. So recruiting lots of MBA students to an opportunity post MBA program. So excited to be here and looking forward to meeting many of you in person and throughout the season. So turn it back to you, Michelle.
Thanks, Tracy. And with that, let's move on into our agenda. How are we going to spend our time? All right, so of course, starting off with our mission, the essence of who we are and why we're here. We'll talk a little bit about our history, of course, our incredible member schools, and then we're going to dive a little bit into what a consortium fellow is, what are the benefits, what's the eligibility criteria, and then we will move into the application process itself and what that looks like. And we'll conclude with the community aspect, which so many consortium fellows say is the best part of being part of this organization, the community of classmates that you get across all of our member schools, as well as our alumni network. And finally, we're going to put matters into your own hands and give you some ways to stay connected so you can continue to take action. All right, before we dive into our mission, just want to reclarify that we will be recording the session and sending it out today for everyone who's interested in learning that and referring back to it later on. But diving into our mission and who we are, the Consortium for Graduate Study and Management, which is our full government name, but we do go by the Consortium, or CGSM for short. We're a continuously growing and evolving alliance of some of the world's leading graduate business schools, corporate partners, and we're supported by the strength of our extended network of students and alums. So we partner with leading business schools and corporations to offer admissions and funding opportunities to our consortium fellows. And we'll get into what a consortium fellow is in just a bit. But our goal is not just to shape the future of business education, but to mold the leaders of tomorrow's global businesses. And our mission, again supported by the strength of our alliance and network of committed allies, is to expand access and increase representation in business education and leadership. So what does this actually mean in practice? So here at the consortium, we're looking for students of all backgrounds who have consistently worked to broaden opportunity and create pathways for others through your academic, professional, or personal experience. So we don't like to dictate what that involvement looks like because it can vary very much dependent on your upbringing, on your extracurricular involvement, or even on based on the industry that you work in. But to make sure that you have a sense of what it is we're looking for, we can provide you with some examples and allow you kind of mold that into what your involvement looks like. So some examples we commonly see of mission aligned involvement is being a part of organizations such as NESB or the National Association of Black Accountants, Alpha, SHIP, National Black. These are some commonly named and themes organizations that we see, but it can also be that you're involved in a fraternity or sorority that you were in undergrad, where the activities align with our mission. Maybe you attended an HBCU or HSI and you were involved with organizations on campus. Or again, it can be that you have mission involved or affiliation through your organization. So, for example, if you work in education, maybe you work for Teach for America and you demonstrate mission alignment through that. Or maybe you work in healthcare, right? And you've expanded equitable access to healthcare for people of all backgrounds and marginalized communities. So really, the point of this is that there's often a misconception that the alignment must have something to do with business, and that is absolutely not the case. Your alignment can be very true to your identity and what you're passionate about. And at its core, it is about increasing access, expanding access, and increasing representation for all. And so that's a little bit about our mission. Happy to answer questions, but let's move on to our history. So we're old. We were founded in 1966 by Professor Sterling Shane. He was a professor at Washington University in St. Louis. And what Professor Shane wanted to do was make sure that he was having an impact on the gap and closing the gap in equal opportunity employment. So he created a consortium of leading universities made up of Indiana University, as well as the University of Wisconsin, and brought together people of 60 educators, business leaders, and community advocates of all backgrounds to form a consortium. So the initial mission was to give African American men the business skills and access needed to secure leadership positions in American organizations. Our mission has evolved over the years, so it included women, Hispanic Americans, and Native Americans after 1970, and now we welcome U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and DACA applicants. That DACA applicants specifically are you have to check with the policies of each of our member schools, but we welcome people these backgrounds, all who demonstrate an alignment to our mission. And so going from the founding class of 21 African American men and 3 corporate partners, Tracy, take us to where we are now. So we've evolved, touching on our member schools, we've grown into a powerful network today of 21 member schools, which can all be seen on this slide. We have over 12,000 alums, and our class of 2027 had over 800 fellows. So again, all of these schools are aligned with our mission. They're included in our application, and in just a few slides, we are going to walk through what that application process actually looks like. But before we do, we want to talk a little bit about fellows. So let's get into that. What is a consortium fellow? So first of all, of course, we have some eligibility criteria that must be met in order to apply through the consortium, which is listed here, and I'll walk through that in detail. So starting with being a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, again, everyone is welcome to apply regardless of race or ethnicity, but you must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. And we did open it up to DACA applicants as well, but you must make sure you're reviewing each of the program's policy regarding DACA acceptance. You must also hold a 4-year bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university. And if you don't graduate until May with your bachelor's, depending on the policy and requirements of the individual school, you will also be welcome to apply as long as you complete it ahead of enrolling in your graduate program. And then last but not least, you must demonstrate commitment to the consortium mission. We are very adamant about having our applicants demonstrate consistent alignment with our mission. And so what that means is that when Tracy and I are reviewing applications, we're looking to see that you suddenly didn't join an organization a month before submitting your application, but that it's something that you've really been passionate about and had a through line in your, starting in undergrad or in your professional experience, but that it has been consistent. And then we are looking for your mission alignment to be domestic. If you've had international mission alignment, that's also acceptable, but we are going to ask a question that asks, how do you plan to continue to demonstrate it in your MBA and beyond? And so we're looking for some of that domestic alignment moving forward. So going to the next slide. A consortium fellow itself, I'll walk through it in detail on the next slide because sometimes it causes a little bit of confusion. So basically, a consortium fellow is someone who has either applied through our application or you were referred after the fact by one of our member schools and you were offered admission into the consortium. So that's part one. And you were admitted and you enrolled into one of our member schools. So that is the consortium fellow. But moving into the next slide, let me break it down a little further. Okay, so step one, you apply through one streamlined application, which we're going to touch on very soon, but there's two parts to it. The first part is that you apply to us, you submit your essays that talk about your mission alignment, and we review that. So you have to be extended membership through the consortium. Step two is in that same application, you're going to add the programs you're interested in applying to, and each individual program is going to evaluate you and decide if they admit you. So part one and two is you must be admitted into the consortium and admitted into at least one of our member schools to be considered a consortium fellow. So once you decide you are enrolling in one of our member schools, you accept our offer, you are officially a consortium fellow. Big question here is what about funding? So when you're admitted to the consortium and the schools evaluate your application, you become eligible for consortium funding. That is a separate and individual decision that's made by each of our member schools. So we do not control that, the schools do, but by being considered for consortium tuition, for consortium funding, you open up access to that pool of funding that each school has. And there's also no limit on the amount of member schools that can offer you consortium funding. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so you become a consortium fellow. What are some of the benefits that are unlocked by accepting your offer to be in the consortium and to be a consortium member? All of it is around access. So starting with the first, access to an exclusive network, you'll have direct connections to Fortune 500 companies and industries as well. You'll also form a community of current MBA students that, again, are not limited to your MBA program, but really span across our 21 member schools. And you're also unlocking a powerful alumni network, again, of over 12,000 alums across the world. And then the other thing is you're unlocking access to funding. So again, as a consortium fellow, you may be eligible to receive either full or partial tuition funding opportunities. Again, these funding decisions are awarded by our member schools, but it's not limited to one member school. So depending on the ones you apply to, they each are able to individually consider you for funding. And last but not least, OP. So if you haven't heard of OP, it is the place to be. So OP stands for Orientation Program. It's our 60th anniversary this year. And OP is an exclusive networking conference that we put on every year that allows you to connect with the consortium fellows across your cohort, as well as our corporate partners who are offering early internship opportunities, Tracy was. All right, so let's move into our application process, starting with the benefits of applying through us. So let's go into the free fee structure itself. If you apply through us, you can apply to multiple programs at a discounted rate. It saves you time, it saves you money. You can apply to as many schools as you want. So if you, for the membership application in that one initial program, it's $150 flat fee. And then it's a $50 for every additional program that you choose to add on to your application. And the consortium just front line, we do not grant application fee waivers or refunds, so that's important to know. And then let's move in to the next slide. An amazing benefit about applying through us as well is that you only need to focus on our deadlines. So a lot of people always ask, well, I'm applying to Yale, I'm applying to Stanford, I'm applying to Cornell. They all have these different deadlines. It does not matter. They are our member schools, and so they are adhering to our deadlines. So the only two that you need to focus on if you're applying through the consortium is our round one deadline, which is October 15th, and then our round two deadline, which is January 5th. We only have two deadlines. So if you are planning to apply this year and you feel that you are a good fit for the consortium, you should start to plan to apply to one of these deadlines. Again, these schools will roll your application into their traditional application pool, and there is nothing on your end that you need to do. So it's extremely convenient, and we're all on the same page. So October 15th or January 5th. All right. Moving into the application and what it actually looks like. So here is a screenshot of our application. If you applied using the Common App in undergrad, you'll see that it's very similar. It's a one-stop shop where part one is, you submit some of your demographic information, your personal background, and then you'll move into some consortium specific questions. So we have our own essays that I'll cover in just a minute, but you input it on your information, and then moving into the next slide, what you do is you have the opportunity to add the programs that you want to apply through. So every year, each school goes into their program materials in our application, and they review and they make changes as needed to make sure that they're capturing what they need from you in our application. So again, if you're applying through us, you don't need to worry that, well, Emory's application asked me for this. It's okay. Focus on our application. And so that's what it looks like to add on the programs that you're interested in applying to. And so let's talk a little bit now about the actual, what we're looking for in the application. So in the consortium piece of the application, what it looks like is we have a couple of essays. We have a core essay, which is required. We're asking you to talk a little bit about what your short and long-term goals are post MBA. We have an optional essay as well. This optional essay is typically used to talk maybe about if you have an employment gap, if you have a lower GPA, maybe you have a test score that you feel doesn't reflect your academic ability. All of this is a great place to use that optional essay. And then we have our mission essays. So this is going to ask you a little bit about how you've demonstrated commitment to the consortium mission. It's a great place to talk about your alignment with the mission, your involvement in what you've done professionally, personally, academically, in line with the mission. And then last but not least, you have your program materials. So once you get through our core application, you're going to access each of the programs. They're going to have their own questions that they ask you, including their own school-specific essays as well. So our application always launches August 15th. It's a great time to get in there and start an application, whether you're applying October 15th or January 5th. You just want to start it so you have a sense of what are the schools asking for, and make sure that you're working towards getting those requirements in time for the deadline. Letters of recommendation is another great perk of applying through us because you have a streamlined recommendation process. You don't need to ask your recommenders to submit their letters to all of these different programs. Instead, they submit it to us and we disperse it across the programs. So our letters of recommendation, we require 3. We have 1 mission recommendation that goes to us, and our schools do not see that. And then we have two professional recommendations that do get dispersed to the schools. So some good tips here. Please make sure that for your mission recommendation, you're also getting a good recommender. It doesn't need to be a supervisor or a leader in your organization, but it does need to be an objective third party that can speak specifically to your volunteerism, to your organizational involvement, and the impact that you've made. So make sure you're coaching your mission recommender to use this to the same extent that you're coaching your professional recommenders. And then for professional recommendations, schools do typically prefer to see a direct supervisor or a prior direct supervisor. So make sure you're starting to prepare for that as well. Also, make sure you're consistent in your application. So if make sure you're including your involvement in your essays, that your recommender is speaking to it, and that it's in your resume as well. We are looking for that consistency and that through line across your entire application. And then last but not least, so you're done, you got it all in. What you're going to see if you move to the next slide, please, Tracy, is your status page. So it's going to walk you through, you submitted your test scores to us. Have we received them? Are we still awaiting them? Hey, you sent your recommender the link to submit the to submit the letter of recommendation. Have they submitted it? And so you'll be able to track the status of everything in your portal in a one-stop shop place. So that's what the application looks like. And if you have questions, we'll answer them in just a moment. But of course, want to make sure we're taking a moment to just talk about our community. Again, our community is such a huge part of what makes the consortium who we are. So I keep talking about how your consortium community extends across your campus, but it is really a huge part of your experience on campus as well. So each member school, you have a consortium community, you have activities. Each school has to have consortium liaisons. And so you're having that safe space where you're with like-minded individuals as you navigate your MBA process. And the best part is that if you go to OP, you're meeting your classmates before you even step foot on campus. And so you're building those bonds well in advance. Again, the network goes beyond one school. So if you have a question, if you are looking to recruit a specific company, but maybe, your friends over at a different school have those connections, that's how your network taps in this place. And so consortium, it's a huge part of who the community is a huge part of who we are. And last but not least, though, make sure that you're connecting with the admission reps of the MBA programs you're interested in applying to. You want to make sure that you're getting a sense of the culture of the schools. And the best way to do so is by attending recruiting events, by talking to admissions officers, by talking to the ambassadors on campus. If you're new to this space, you're MBA curious, you don't even know if you want to apply this year or next, the best place to start is just sign up for a few of your interests, your schools, online events. By 2 or 3, I guarantee you're going to get a sense of maybe I love this school in theory, but now I'm feeling like this school is a better fit for me. So do your research is the takeaway there. And with that, I want to leave you with a takeaway. Make sure this is our first of many upcoming events that we have for the season. Sign up for events, keep in touch with us. Some notable events that we have coming up are our member school webinars. So the first one is taking place on May 20th. And every other week or so, we're going to be featuring 3 of our member schools. So they come on to our member school webinars. They talk a little bit about their programs, what differentiates them, their communities on campus. So that's a great way to get to know a couple of schools in one place. And then we also have our MAPS events coming up at the end of starting in August? No, September, early September. No, late August. Sorry. Late August is our very first MAPS event, starting with Emory in Atlanta. And MAPS events are our in-person recruitment events. So they're hosted by the consortium. We invite all of our 21 member schools to come to our MAPS event. And so we have an info session, we have alumni panels, admissions panels, and then we have a school fair where you can recruit or stop by each member school's recruitment table in person and talk to them. So We're going to be across major cities. Just make sure you bookmark our events page and keep in touch with us. And with that, that is the end of our presentation. I am